Hi, this is Emma at Steel&Stitch. Today we are on lesson 4 of A Beginner's Guide to Crochet, and we are going to be learning to change colour. We're going to make a lovely love heart within the same granny square that we used in the last lesson. So you should totally know how to make the granny square by now, but we're going to change those colours. So you need 2 different yarns today. I'm using the Debbie Bliss Clio. It's that lovely kind of foamy, cotton covered foam again, because it gives you that really clear definition. So I've got the Debbie Bliss Clio with a 5mm hook today. You're also going to need a little pair of scissors. It's totally worth investing in good scissors, by the way. You don't want to be hacking away and making all these hideous frayed ends, because it's just a nightmare, especially when you come to sewing in all the ends and stuff. Which is a point and reminds me that what we're also going to learn by doing this is how to work over your ends so you don't have to do any sewing in, because frankly when you get to the end of a blanket and you've got another 7 hours work sewing in all those bits, it is so demoralising and heartbreaking that often it will just put me off. So this is a way of doing it where you work over them as you go and then you have very little to sew in. It's marvellous. Okay, I've worked the first 2 rounds for the actual instructional bit, so if you can get those 2 bits then you'll be good to go. I've also gone quite quickly so when it comes to the actual clusters, because you should totally know that by now, she says. What I've focused on is the actual how to colour change part and how to work over those ends, but you can slow it down as much as you need to and just go back and forth to the bits you like. Okay, enjoy it. Any questions, email me, that's fine. Bye. So we're going to be making this. What I'm going to do is quickly whip up a centre square. So this is what we're going to be making. We're going to learn how to change colour and then work over the ends of those yarn that we don't need so that we get them out of the way and it's nice and tidy. So what I've done is I've already made this centre square here, so the first round and the second round, and we're going to get to work on this 3rd round here. And actually we're going to be working this way up, so the next part we're about to do is this end here, and then we're going to change colour there. So what you will need is a pair of scissors to hand, because what we'll do is we'll cut those ends off as we get to them, so it's called fastening off. So what we're going to do first is make a cluster in this chain space here. So we're going to do a chain 3 and we're going to work 2 trebles into this chain space here, and that is going to become the bottom point of our heart. Now give yourself a bit of a length, a few inches, 15 centimetres, something like that, and snip that end there. Now you're going to bring in your second colour, and what we're going to do is we're going to yarn over our hook. We're going to wrap it around our hook like that. All you've got to do is put it on the end like that, see? Grab both your tails there to keep that nice and tight, it keeps it out of the way, and we are just going to pull that through the loop that was on your hook. So all we've done there is swapped one for another, and I'm just going to yarn over and I'm going to do a chain 2 with that second yarn. So literally we've just swapped one for another. So now we're going to do 2 clusters of trebles in this corner separated by a 3 chain, and then we're going to change colour again. So once we've done 1, we're going to do our 3 chain to get around that corner. This is the same granny square pattern in the last tutorial, so you should be up to speed with this one by now. So that's our 2, that's our corner there. Now what we need to do is we need to change back to pink. So I'm going to do exactly what I did just now. I'm going to cut that tail there, so I've got a length like that. I'm going to bring my pink back in, if I can find his end. Hold on. I'm going to do just the same. So I'm going to wrap it around that hook, just like that. I'm going to grab both of those tails so they're out of the way, and I'm going to pull this through the loop that's on my hook, just like that, and tighten it off. And then I'm going to do my 2 chain, and I can just tighten that up a bit. And now I'm going to work into that next chain space and just do a cluster there. So this is making the side of our heart. And what you will see is that you've got a lot of tails hanging at the back here. Don't worry, because when you get to your next round, we're going to start working around those. Right, so now we need to do the corner. So we're going to chain 2 across to that corner. And we're going to do a cluster of 3 trebles. And then we're going to do a 3 chain. I am doing this quickly. You can slow it down if you need to, but you probably don't need me to show you this bit. You just want to have another look at the next colour change. So I'm going to whiz over to it again. Now you can see we're starting to get our heart shape here, but now we need to make that colour change in the middle. We need to swap back to the next yarn. So we're going to do the same thing again. Chop him off here. Get our other colour. Do the same again. So we're going to bring it over that hook, grab those ends and pull it through, and then a chain 2, tug that pink one. That pink one anchors the other colour, so then we're going to do a cluster in this chain space here, and then we're going to need to change straight back to pink again. So we are going to take that, chop him off, bring our other one back in, yarn over there, straight around the top of the hook. Again, do you see I'm using my middle finger here to grab those 2 and pull that one in there. And again, tug the minty one down to anchor it, and then we're going to do that corner cluster again, just like on the other side. So we're going to chain 3 around that corner and do another cluster. And all we need to do now after this, we've got one more colour change, and then actually you've made the heart. So now we're going to chain 2 across that cluster there. We're going to do another set of 3 trebles into that space, and we're going to change colour again. So ready, chop him off, bring in your minty colour, or whatever colour you're using. We would call this one yarn B. Yarn A is the pink one, yarn B is the minty one. See, we've got him. I'm going to put him through there, I'm going to chain 2, tug that down so it's nice and secure, and then we're going to work that corner in the mint. So that's 3 trebles, chain 3 and 3 trebles. Again, I'm aware that I'm doing this really quickly. Now, so what we've actually got here, if we tug our little pink tails at the back, we've pretty much got our heart shape. So now all we need to do is I'm going to do, I chain up here, I'm going to work around, and I'm going to show you how to work over those ends. So we're going to do our slip stitch. So we're going to find that 1, 2, 3, third chain up, pop our hook through there, and do our slip stitch. Now you will have noticed that some chains are minty, some chains are pink. In a minute when we work over those, I'm going to do chain 5 quickly, you'll see they disappear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're going to do now is grab these 2, hold them along the back of our work like that, so you've got them pinched together and nice and firmly there. So we're going to yarn over and we're going to do our treble around that chain space and around those 2 yarns. So this is called working over your ends, and this is a technique that's really useful when you do all sorts of things, from tapestry, crochet, or intarsia as it's sometimes called, to just finishing things up nicely without having to give yourself extra work. So what we're going to do is our 2 chain to get into that corner. We're going to keep holding on to those 2, and we're going to work our next set of trebles in the corner around them again, over the top of those 2 and into our chain space. So we're going to go over like that, and we're going to work those 3 trebles, and then we're going to chain 3 to get around the corner. And what you'll see is if you tug that, oh, I keep picking back up, that sits quite neatly behind your clusters. So we're going to do the same thing again. We've brought it round the corner. We're going to work another 3 trebles over the top of those and hide them in there. You don't have to do it this way. You can leave those tails loose and sew them in afterwards if you want. I think a lot of people do that. I am so lazy. I cannot be bothered to do that at the end. I find it heartbreaking when you get to the end of the project to see that you've just got so many tails to sew in. So wherever possible, I try and work them in. Now look, these have been caught all the way around that corner, so actually I'm happy to drop those now and pick up the next 2 along. And I'm going to work around that into that chain space and over these 2 now. It's not necessarily the securest way of fixing your ends in, although to be honest I've never really had a problem with it. I've never had anything unravel because of that. And actually if they do untuck, you can hand stitch them in or use a yarn needle to stitch them in, but actually this is quite effective. It's quite tight by the time you finish working that. So you see I'm going to carry on bringing those over and work over the top of those. So yeah, it doesn't seem to have been a problem in any of the blankety makes I've ever made, and actually I use this for tapestry crochet all the time, and you find you're actually making quite a secure material when you're working your crochet stitches. I'm sure there are some people that would disagree with that. Oh, hold on, let's just unravel a bit more yarn, make this easier. Okay, let's work over those 2. So another 2 trebles. And then we're going to do a chain 3. And I'm really hoping you can't hear the pin then. You probably can. And in my head I was going to be deeply professional and start again if we do that, but I think we've got so far you're just going to have to live with the sounds of domesticity. Right, see we've come all the way around that corner, so I'm going to let those go, and actually I'm going to pick up the next 2. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to work over the top of that one. You see we're very nearly at the end. So going over those, chain those 2, bring these along here, and actually we've got another set. Now because we have only worked over those 2 with 1 set of trebles, I'm actually going to hold on to those and the next lot. So I've got all of them here in my little paw, see? And I'm actually going to work over all of them. Now I'm using quite a thick yarn because it's easy to demonstrate with, so it will make quite a chunky finish, but it's only on the back, and if you're doing this with an ordinary DK or something finer, it's not going to be a problem at all. Although to be fair, it's not a problem with this really, because you're not going to wear a granny square that often, and actually as a blanket I don't think it matters overly if you've got a slightly bulkier back. I'm going to turn it over and show you in a minute how it looks, so you'll see. See, I've got all 4 of those. It's like having a little tentacly octopus being bound up. Oh, let's get a bit more yarn. And in a second, I'm actually going to let go of 2 of them, although to be honest I don't know which the first 2 are, so I'm just going to now let all of them go. Leave them all behind, so I'm just tucking them behind here with this finger, and I'm going to do my final trebles in that one without any. Oh look, I've got another corner to go. I thought I nearly got there. So we're going to do the same again. We've just got 2 this time here. We're going to work over those, through that chain space. I know I'm whizzing along a bit again now, but you can pause this and slow it down and look at any of the other bits that you need to. Let me see, he's just got a bit caught there. Let's tug that out. You won't be able to see it. We've got a 2 chain and we're back at this beginning one here. 1, 2 into that space there. There we go. And we're going to find our 1, 2, 3. I'm going to pull that through there and pull that through there. I'm going to pull that up here. I'm going to chop that off. I'm going to turn it over so you can see what's happened on the back here. So you see, look, here are all our tails that we worked over, all tucked in. And you can see that has made it slightly bumpier, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad at all, actually, even with a chunkier yarn. And this Clio is quite nice because it's actually quite forgiving. So what you see I'm just tugging these tight so that everything's smoothed down and nice and secure, and I'm confident that they're not going to come out. And so all we need to do now is give it a little haircut so they can come off, they can come off, they can come off. Look, he was only half caught, but again, I'm not unhappy with that. I'm very confident that it's been caught up altogether. You see I actually worked over that one at the very beginning. So there are no ends for you to sew in at all. The worst you've got is a little bit of thread that you can see pulling through. But I think seeing as that is our front stitch. Oh, there we go, I just pulled him a little bit tight. Just going to loosen them off. Because you see you actually pulled them underneath. Oh, come here. Let's tuck that through there a bit tighter and get those ends. It's actually a very tidy, non-end sewing in granny square.